Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football week number 10 picks and predictions. Happy Halloween, everyone. It is time. We're on to double-digit weeks here. College football, November starting up. Ohio State, currently the number 3 team, traveling to face Rutgers. And yes, all of these AP rankings will be invalidated when the college football playoff rankings get released. But we're just going to kind of use them as placeholders. And you do have the Buckeyes sitting minus 18.5, traveling to Rutgers. Ohio State, Kyle McCord, not great. Very concerning. The Buckeyes finally do not have an elite quarterback, but they do have an elite defense. And Rutgers, they are sitting there at 6-2, but they are a very fraudulent team. They barely beat Michigan State at home, kind of won in a miracle in that game, came all the way back. Ohio State, I did not have them covering last week, and I was proven right. They were 14.5-point favorites. They won by 14. I do think the Buckeyes cover in this game. Or is that cover? Yeah, that would be covering. They win by 24. 31-7, another low-scoring game for Ohio State. Rutgers cannot throw the ball, especially against this OSU defense. This game taking place at noon on CBS. Snow flurries are expected in that one. How about this huge game? Ranked versus ranked. It's Kansas State, who should be ranked a lot higher, by the way, than number 25. The analytics have them inside the top 12. They're taking on Texas. Texas is dealing with a quarterback issue. We will see what happens with Murphy or Ewers. Is Quinn Ewers back? It's going to be very important for them. I know they beat BYU, but that was mainly based off of their defense. Either way, Texas only sitting -5 at home. Shocking. This is how good this Kansas State team is. And guys, I am loving the value right now in Kansas State, plus the 5, 11 a.m. Central game. Texas, I don't think their season is going to be ruined, because if they lose this game, they're done. They have 2 losses, and then you're talking about possibly not making the Big 12 championship, because you already lost to Oklahoma, and now Kansas State, who's sitting there, they would hold the head-to-head tiebreaker. We will see. I am taking Kansas State plus the 5. It would not surprise me if they won this game outright, based off of the situation surrounding the Texas injuries with the quarterback. Moving on to another noon game, it is Ole Miss sitting at number 11. Ole Miss quietly 1 loss right now, taking on Texas A&M. Only 4.5-point favorites. Ole Miss beat Vanderbilt last week. Texas A&M with Max Johnson, they won their game. They stabilized. They're 5-3, but I am going with Ole Miss to hold serve. I don't think they're going to blow their season losing to Texas A&M. And if Ole Miss really can win this game, they're going to start becoming more and more relevant when it comes to a potential outside chance of a playoff spot. Very unlikely, considering they would need Alabama to lose 2 games. But either way, I don't think their season is ruined by Max Johnson and Texas A&M. I will take Ole Miss. There is some trepidation. They are only -4.5. I don't think I would take them to cover that. I would be intrigued at the over-under in this game. I've got a total of 47. I'm liking a lower scoring game. This is a noon start time, and you're talking about 2, or at least Texas A&M having a very formidable defensive front. Another noon game, very intriguing matchup. It is Notre Dame traveling to Clemson. Clemson right now, 4-4. They might miss a bowl, but Notre Dame, the number 12 team in the country, coming off a 58-7 win over Pittsburgh, only sitting -3. ESPN FPI gives them a 65% chance. This game opened as a virtual pick'em. Folks, Notre Dame was -1, and it got bet up to -3 in like a millisecond. Notre Dame is a very solid team. They're fundamentally sound, and at some point, Clemson is what they are. They're just a very talented team that's not playing to their potential. We're into week 10. There's no way I'm going to, start saying they're going to have a kumbaya rebirthing moment here, and they're going to beat Notre Dame. This game is very important for Ohio State. Ohio State wants Notre Dame to win this game badly. It is huge for their resume. Notre Dame wins a lower scoring game. They cover the 3 points because they have a solid defensive team. Next, you do have Yukon traveling to Tennessee, so kind of a random non-conference matchup here. Tennessee sitting minus 34.5. Yukon had that very nice, surprising year last year. This year, they've been terrible. They're back to their old ways, and I do have Tennessee winning this game huge, 48-10, covering the 34.5 there. Moving on to a random 2 o'clock game. So this is a noon start time in the Mountain Time Zone. It is Utah coming off that horrible home loss to Oregon. Cam Rising officially done for the year, probably going to be redshirting, taking on Arizona State. And you want to talk about a crappy, miserable game. I love the under. I think Utah wins it. To me, based on how bad Utah's offense is, for them to cover an 11.5 point spread against a Power 5 team, they would need some defensive touchdowns, and maybe they'll get that. But yeah, Utah's just got such a bad offense. We're going to have them winning this game. We like the under. Arizona State, they're not going to do anything in the cold environment. They're a warm weather team, and they're terrible on offense. 21-12, kind of a weird score there. A 2:30 game. It is Army traveling to Air Force. Air Force still undefeated, sitting 18.5 point favorites. The greatest prediction in college football history is still on the line here. When I predicted Air Force to go undefeated in the preseason, they're still undefeated. They're sitting 18.5 point favorites, and they're going to thump Army. This Air Force team is so impressive. Easy win, and I do have them covering the 18.5. Lower scoring game for sure. You got to be wary at the limited possessions, but Air Force is significantly better. They win 34-10. Moving on to the 3:30 window, this is the big 3:30 game. It is Georgia and Missouri. Missouri entering this game with just one loss. Georgia, of course, undefeated. I do not think Georgia is going to be ranked number 1 in terms of the playoff committee. They are sitting minus 16. This is going to be good for their resume if they win it, and I just can't trust Missouri in a matchup like this. I understand the idea of it, and like the narrative is, oh, Georgia's back to their old ways. They beat Florida by 40. You know, maybe this is a game where we could see an unexpected thing, because we still have to remember this is a Georgia team that really struggled early on, and they're without their best player. So let's not get blinded by that. But you know what? Maybe I did get blinded by their game last week, because I've got them covering the 16-point spread here. Just barely. I have them winning by 17 over a Missouri team. I just don't think Missouri is good enough, but it would be really cool for college football if Missouri somehow won this game and catapulted themselves inside of possibly the top 6 or 7. This is a huge opportunity for Missouri football. I don't see it happening, but it'll be an interesting game. Another 3:30 game. It is FSU sitting minus 21.5 on the road at Pittsburgh. Pat Narduzzi calling out his players, possibly losing the locker room. Guys, we understand how these situations work. Pittsburgh's going to be galvanized. They're going to play hard. It's a 3:30 game. I do have FSU winning this one 34-24, but I love Pittsburgh to cover. When people run, that's when I go. And I'm going here on Pittsburgh plus the 21.5 because the narrative is there. Oh, Pat Narduzzi had a conference with his team. They had a meeting, and now his players are ready to play. They're going to play hard against FSU. FSU is a team. Listen, it's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy. It's going to be, 21 degrees, wind chill down to 7 degrees. Do we really think FSU is going to be up for this game? They're going to be miserable. Jordan Travis is going to be miserable. There's going to be multiple interceptions. Frigid temperatures expected in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's another 3:30 game, and it is Penn State sitting minus 11, traveling to Maryland. So let me just say, going into this is kind of a cop-out for me, because I believe I've got Penn State winning by 10. So I just cannot... I don't know what to make of Penn State football right now. They have no elite receivers. Their running game seems to be really lacking explosiveness. Drew Aller is starting to run a little and be physical, which is good. But overall, I just don't trust this Penn State offense right now. I'm going to kind of hold off on telling you guys, a betting suggestion in a game like this. Maryland for sure has been bad recently, don't get me wrong, and that's part of the reason why Penn State's sitting at an 83% chance to win on the road. But Penn State football is very hard to trust right now. Now, this could be a narrative game where Penn State gets back on track. They thump Maryland by 25 going into their home game against Michigan, and that gets really hyped up. That could be a script I see playing out. but I don't know if I can trust it enough, especially considering that Indiana game, just complete red flags galore for Penn State. Indiana was up late in the second quarter. That was a game going into the fourth quarter. Penn State really struggled to move the ball. How about this? It's Bedlam. It's the huge rivalry. It is Oklahoma traveling to Oklahoma State. We're going to be having Halloween. Oklahoma sitting -6, 81% chance. They're coming off that loss to Kansas. And guys, it's so obvious we love Oklahoma State and the resurgence that they've had to win this game over an Oklahoma team who's solid, not a great run game. How about Dylan Gabriel? Really kind of a weird situation where he only attempted like 19 passes. They do not have a dynamic deep threat #1 receiver. I will take, in a rivalry game, the home team who's been playing well, who's got great value plus the 6. Guys, remember, Oklahoma's analytics were juiced up after that 73-0 win over Arkansas State. This would eliminate them from the playoff. They lost like 5 games last year. I've got them losing this game in the rivalry by 5 points. Kind of a weird score there. Another 3:30 game. It is Louisville hosting Virginia Tech. You know, I've got a story about Virginia Tech, and it's very uplifting. I was checking my phone a few days ago, maybe on Friday or Thursday, whenever Virginia Tech played, and I saw Virginia Tech drop 30 points in the first half. Guys, this Virginia Tech team is for real. They want to be ranked. They're good enough to be ranked, and they're going to go on the road and silence a Louisville team who, yes, they did win last week. It was a blowout, I get it. But this Virginia Tech team, the offensive explosion, the offensive upside they have, it is impressive. I think they carry that great home win on the road, and they do beat Louisville. Remember, this is a Louisville team. They had a really bad loss. I understand they only have 1 loss right now, but they're nothing special. It's not like they have 10 5-star players on this roster. The overall roster talent, it's very comparable, so I will take Virginia Tech in possibly my upset of the week, 26-24. Another 3:30 game, it is Tulane sitting -17 at East Carolina. And this is going to be big problems for Tulane. Now, yes, I did have Tulane losing last week. Rice was close. They lost 30-28. At least they covered the 11. But East Carolina, I've been extremely impressed with this team this year. I think they're on the verge of a program breakthrough when you look at their schedule. Tulane is sitting, look at that, -17, but only a 75% chance to win. Amazing. The analytics are screaming. And guys, you've got the pirate, you've got the Halloween thing, you've got the black background for East Carolina. The entire vibe and aroma is telling everyone East Carolina wins this game in a crazy upset. They've been impressing me. They will win 24-23 on a walk-off field goal. Next, it is James Madison traveling to Georgia State. So James Madison, a bit of a red flag last week, barely winning their game when they were 17-point favorites. They are still undefeated, but they're due for a loss, and Georgia State's a really good team. You can see James Madison basically in a pick-em game, only a 57% chance to win on the road. I love Georgia State to win this game outright, and I think it's great value, 32-27. I've got some weird scores this week, but yeah, I love Georgia State plus the 5.5. We've got a 5:30 game, which is a 2:30 Pacific time start. It is Oregon, who looks just phenomenal right now, taking on California. Cal coming off that crazy game against USC. They have 0 defense. They do have a really good running back. Oregon sitting -24, and I do have Oregon easily winning this game 43-21. Not covering the 24, but Oregon is a really good team. I do think Oregon is better than Washington. I understand the hate I'm going to get for that, considering Washington beat Oregon, but you also have to factor in the game was at Washington. You know, Oregon outgained them by 170 yards and whatnot. Moving on to a 7 o'clock game. This is a brutal game for Kansas. So Kansas, they have their program breakthrough win, and now you got to go to Iowa State. And Iowa State has been very underrated this year. This is a virtual pick'em game. Iowa State actually sitting -1. Kansas, even though they won, there are some significant red flags with Jason Bean. We'll see if Daniels is back. It never seems like he is. I will take the home team in a, I mean, it's not even an upset. They're 1-point favorites. I have them winning by 2, 21-19. Iowa actually has a sneaky good passing offense with a new quarterback. I think they win this game outright, a 7 o'clock start. Moving on to the 7:30 primetime games, it is Michigan hosting Purdue. Michigan dealing with the cheating scandal. There's going to be a lot of binoculars. There's going to be a lot of cameras. Watch out for that. They're sitting minus 32.5 against the Purdue team who has kind of given up on the season. I think they only have 2 wins at this point, Purdue, with Hudson Card. It just hasn't worked out. Certainly, I will be taking Michigan 38-14, but we're going to have to see what happens with their cheating scandal. Everything coming out about that, but certainly they have a really good team and they'll win this game. Although it is important to understand, we'll have to see how they do without the signs. I'm sure Purdue will change them. It'll be interesting to watch. Another 7:30 game. How about this ranked versus ranked? It is Washington traveling to USC, and I understand what everyone is going to say here. How could you pick USC? Alex Grinch, their defense is terrible. Guys, this is what Lincoln Riley does. When everyone doubts him, he randomly wins a crazy game. I've got Caleb Williams and USC winning this game at home, 40-37. Something is off about Washington. It's their defense. It's their run game. Michael Penix Jr. does have an amazing opportunity to outduel Caleb Williams because currently he is the slight Heisman favorite. He can add to his resume, but it's just tough for me. You can see Washington sitting -4. ESPN FPI has USC as the slight favorites. There is good value on USC plus the 4. According to the analytics, and I will agree, and I'll take them. Again, when everyone doubts a team like USC and Caleb Williams, they seem to win. Washington, they're overdue for a loss, honestly. They've had several very close games. They could have easily lost the last 2 weeks to bad Pac-12 teams, so I will take USC, even with their bad defense. And then how about this? Look at what CBS is doing. They've got this game on at 7:45, so if you guys don't know, every year, CBS has one primetime game, and it's normally always the Alabama-LSU game, and this year it's no different. LSU with 2 losses, the horrible defense, the great offense, coming off a bye, taking on Alabama, streaky, Jalen Milroe. Guys, Bama sitting right now -4, and I am not betting against Nick. Well, I guess I am betting against Nick Saban. I would take LSU plus the 4, but I think Alabama wins a higher scoring game. Jalen Milroe, he's very inconsistent, but against a horrible defense, they're going to be able to connect on some deep passes. Remember, Alabama's last huge game, they lost at home to Texas. I don't see them losing back-to-back major home games. LSU, the defense is just too bad to overcome. This would be their 3rd loss. I've got Bama winning 34-31, possibly on a walk-off field goal. And then moving on to the late night window, a 10 o'clock game, it is Oregon State coming off a disappointing loss, traveling to Colorado, sitting -12.5. Colorado has really tailed off. They're trying to get into a bowl game. I'm sure a lot of the TV networks are desperately hoping that Colorado can get into a bowl game. Imagine the rabid fight for the Colorado bowl game between the TV networks if they do finish 6-6. They're going to be in like the Honda Bowl, and you're going to have TV networks like fighting to the death to get them, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, the ratings they get is crazy. I will take Oregon State to win this game. Colorado just cannot run the ball, and they have a terrible defense. It is not a good combination. I understand the idea. They're going to be at home. It's a 10 o'clock game on ESPN. Remember the last 10 o'clock Eastern game against Colorado State? That was a crazy final, but Oregon State is solid on offense. They're going to do enough to score a lot and win that game easily, and I think they'll cover the spread. I also like the over, unless the over-under in this game's into like the 70s. And then moving on to the 10:30 game, it is UCLA, who's been good recently, slowly and quietly. They've been playing well. They're traveling on the road at Arizona. And you want to talk about a team even more under the radar than UCLA, it is Arizona. UCLA right now, basically a pick'em game, -1.5, 52% chance to win. And yes, I love this value play on Arizona, plus the 1.5. They've been playing great. They're going to win this game outright. I love the over. This is your late night Pac-12 crazy game that Arizona wins, and maybe with Arizona's resume possibly improving to 6-3, I think with this win, maybe they'll be ranked. But either way, guys, that is going to officially do it for my college football week number 10 picks and predictions. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.